Okay, good evening, everybody. Tonight, Waikato Electorate, these are your candidates standing for your electoral vote for this upcoming general election. But with every election, there's one thing stepping in the way, and that's your vote. Okay, it looks like someone cut off the opening credits a little bit, but that's all right. So tonight, this evening, we're coming here live from the Cambridge Town Hall for this show is the Waikato Electorate. Now, just for those who are wondering why we're slightly outside the electoral boundaries for the Waikato Electorate is because, well, you know, they've got this fantastic venue, as you can see right here. It's brilliant. You know, got to use these good old historic buildings going through there. Yeah, so, you know, got to sit there and go through there. So that's the reason why we're here tonight, and we also had our Toko show earlier this evening. So we have two fantastic candidates here standing, and we have a bunch of ghosts representing those that weren't. So we've got Megan and Lois. I hope I got the names correct. Yep. Okay, who would like to go first for the opening statements? Looks like it's Megan.
Kia ora. I'm Megan. I'm the Opportunities candidate for the Waikato Electorate. I'm new to the whole political gambit. This journey started putting my hand up some months ago and the rubber hitting the road about 10 days ago. So still a little fresh, so I hope you give me the grace to read from notes because it's important that we get things right. I believe that the Opportunities Party stands for a fairer New Zealand, a better New Zealand, and can work with anyone in Parliament that wants a fairer and better New Zealand. So I'm realistic. I won't get the votes that are required to win the Waikato Electorate, but I really hope that you consider your party vote for the Opportunities Party. I believe in a better New Zealand. I think we need to leave a ladder for those who are coming after us instead of pulling it up behind them, as we've seen other generations do. So for a fairer and better New Zealand, party vote.
Thank you for that. Next up, Lois, your opening statements.
Party Vote Freedoms New Zealand, candidate vote vision. Kia ora, my name is Lois Dornan, mother of five, wife of one husband, 28 years, and still going strong. We're a party that has integrity and who have always moved and wanted to be tika and pono in everything that we do as a party. But we will stand, we stood then, we're standing now. Like my colleague over here, if we call each other that, Megan, I'm very brand new at this, so I didn't grow up wanting to be a career politician, and I certainly am not PC. I'm as real as you're gonna get. So Party Vote Freedoms New Zealand, candidate vote vision. Thank you.
And thank you for the opening statements. We do have apologies from Stu Husband from New Zealand First. He's had to make an emergency trip up to Auckland, and we wish him best wishes there. And for those who are wondering what's happened to our Labour and National candidates, well, to be honest, no response is probably the best word we've had from them so far, and we're disappointed with the Waikato National and Labour candidates there. But you know, you've got two fantastic people here who are stepping up. They might become the next local MP for the area. So let's kick off for the electorate, well, not electorate video, we do them freestyle these days. So let's bring up the map for the electorate so we can show where the Waikato electorate boundaries are. Okay, and okay, so Waikato Electorate is a very unique electorate. Starting from the south, it starts by the Mamaku Ranges and heads across, which also covers the little small town I remember of Tipoi. Also includes Manamata, Waharoa. As you do go along the eastern part of the Kaimai Ranges, you've also got Te Haraha, Waitoa, and Morrinsville, and then it cuts along back into the bit of the heartland and heads up to does that include that little random town called it does include Tahuna. I do know that was a shortcut I used to use to get to Auckland before the expressway opened, and cuts across to Heniwai. It is the Rangariri is just north of the boundary, and so that's not in there. Neither is Tekawhara. You've got Glen Afton on the west, and you also include Huntly, including probably New Zealand's own coal power station. You've got Ngahawahia, and it goes around the side of the Hamilton West electorate. It also includes Gordonton, and it also includes Tamahere. It's part of it's the turnoff where the airport is for Hamilton Airport. It's quite ironic. Hamilton Airport's not even actually in the either of the two Hamilton electorates, and then it kind of scoots out and kind of avoids Cambridge on its way down to was it Perarere, which is famous for those very long right-hand turns out of State Highway 29, and some little historic context. A historic Waikato River pattern before an earthquake. Don't know when the earthquake occurred, but some little archaeological knowledge that can be in the area that might be of use. So now let's get to the questions we think you'll be asking after watching today's show. Let's bring them up on screen. Well, Kiwis prepared to see New Zealand's New Zealand's residential house sales reach 30% to overseas buyers in order to have a tax cut. Will you be prepared to catch? No, will you be able to catch that snapper in the Hauraki Gulf after the election? I do know it's a little bit outside the electorate, but hey, a lot of the rivers flow into it. And is the Waikato River one earthquake away from changing its water course to the Firth Thames? And should we prepare for it? So these are some questions we think you'll be asking after watching tonight's show. So let's get on to the next part about questions from the question boxes. Now, Jill, just wondering, do our candidates tonight have their buttons and their fur cards?
I completely forgot. Can I just
go and grab them. Yes. So Jill's running off stage to sit there and grab them. So for those who are wondering, so each candidate gets given 2 button cards and 1 defer card. And I would like to encourage candidates to use their defer cards to candidates who have chosen not to turn up here tonight. Now, that is me trying to sit there and interfere, but we need to send the message to them that, you didn't answer this question on It's in the Ballot. And we've got to make it so well known that every single MP in Parliament knows about It's in the Ballot after the election. Considering I do know the Electoral Commission knows about us and they love what we're posting. I hope they love what we're posting. So yes. Yes, okay. In order to use the button cards, you can see Jill's given them out right now. So each candidate, when they want to butt in on another candidate's question, they raise their hand with the card so that either myself or Jill knows that they want to sit there and butt in and give their answer. And it's a very good format, and we find out some very interesting and diverse opinions on different topics there. So let's kick off. Lois, what box number would you like to pick?
I'll go with my age, 21.
21. How come we're all 21? Yeah.
So how many 21st cards you've received in your life?
Just a little over 2.
Yeah, my grandma's, I remember, she's 4. Yeah.
Okay, we have question T for Tango. What is your party's position on 3 Waters reform? And do you have an alternative model?
I feel like I'm back in school and I'm cheating with the answers.
It's all right, we want quality answers here. You can call it an open book assessment.
There are many decisions that our local regional councils have not been given the opportunity to participate in. These decisions have had consequences for those bodies managing the resources and infrastructure of our regions, towns and cities. Our three waters infrastructure, drinking water, wastewater and stormwater, needs a strategy that is democratically accountable to the public and involves cooperation between central and local government. We are not suggesting that this asset be turned over to any third entity or be jointly owned, but it is of national interest that our infrastructure is attended to so that it can support the growth and needs to an increasing population.
Thank you. Megan, what box number?
13.
So unlucky 13.
Lucky for me.
A lucky number or a lucky letter. We have K for kilo.
Oh, I like this one.
Tell us 3 words that sum up for you Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Home, family, water.
Heck, that's short, sharp and sweet.
Yeah, can I
Lois.
go now?
My daughter's age 9.
We have letter W, W for whiskey. Would you or your party consider giving a fixed percentage of GST tax revenue to help fund local councils on infrastructure projects?
This would need to be considered by our financial team before we give a definite answer. However, we do see the value in an ongoing tax commitment to local regional infrastructure.
Thank you. Megan, what box number?
17.
I like this. This is good. I think
We
we're going to clean
have-
them out.
Letter O for Oscar. So Megan, what is your policy on tackling New Zealand's obesity problem?
Okay, great question. I'm going to go pretty much off script actually, because the one thing to make clear is that rubbish foods are often cheaper than whole or fresh foods. And if people have the chance to, they'll eat good foods. So the reality is the margin on junk food is more than others. So there's a perverse desire for the supermarkets and manufacturers to push those. And that's why you see them advertised, right? It's really expensive to be poor. The food issue is one of the side of the obesity coin. Exercise is another. When I was a kid, we walked to school, to and from. We don't have that for many of our kids anymore. And I've lived in London, I've lived in Wellington, I've lived in Tokyo, would never consider driving a car in those situations. So we need to ensure we don't complicate things, and recent things have come out suggesting a sugar tax isn't that great, because what it does is it pushes the manufacturers to put more additives in their products and then incentivize people to buy more crap food.
Just want to put a follow-up on there. Stevia.
Stevia?
Yes. Would that be is that
Well,
potentially could come out as a result, say, of a sugar tax, is having our products loaded up with stevia?
Well, recently there's a book published by a UK doctor, and everywhere that's introduced a sugar tax, they've had no reduction in obesity or health outcomes that they were looking for. What's happened is that the manufacturers have just given them more products with these things, and our bodies don't recognise that as something that they can process. So it gets a sugar response, so we get an insulin response. And look, I really did badly in biochemistry, but the reality is your body gets ready to receive sugar and then it doesn't get sugar, so it gets confused. And there's lots of things that we add to our food to give it longer shelf life, to make it taste better, that actually confuse our body. And that adds to the obesity issue, because actually our bodies don't know what they're consuming.
I think you'd make a great Minister of Health.
I'm walking out of here with more knowledge than I walked in tonight. Thank you, Megan.
Can I just say, like, honey? Honey's another nice sweetener, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what I
honey's
use. Natural honey. You know. Yeah.
and the body recognises the trigger that you're eating something sweet, and it knows how to process it.
It's actually probably why I tend to be careful about the sugar-free versions, and even I get given rubbish about going for the sugar ones. Funny enough, my body actually, it's for that same reason.
And you're sated for longer.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
food tech wasn't a complete waste of time.
Yeah. Lois.
Kelly's eye number 1.
And we have question C. C for Charlie. How are you going to address the cost of living crisis?
We start by removing the global control in this country through the UN, the WHO, WEF, which has had implications of government budgets and what is ultimately best for New Zealanders. We must deal with the out-of-order spending of this government. In any business or household, you cannot keep spending money you don't have. It is not fiscally responsible. So we will return to responsible government spending, prioritising New Zealand families. Government operations have increased till we now have 1 in 5 New Zealanders working for the government. That is not necessary and not sustainable. We will cut government spending by doing away with the endless contractors and compliance-related jobs in government departments.
Thank you. Megan, what box number?
I'll go for 25. I've got a couple of those under my belt.
And we have question I for India. The Future of Local Government report says the current local government funding and finance system is already under pressure and is not sustainable. How is your party going to respond to this issue?
This is one of those questions that suggests that there's a silver bullet somewhere. There's not. One of the core readjustments of the housing market that the Opportunities has is giving the GST of new builds back to local government. The reality is that comes with accountability. I've said before that Kiwis actually don't mind paying tax. What we resent is the waste of it and the fact that it's not making a difference in the civil services that we depend on. So we'll give local councils the GST from new builds, the funds for infrastructure. We'll take the burden away from the ratepayers, and it's to provide infrastructure above and below ground, so help with the things that are happening around long-term sustainability of our cities.
Okay. Lois, what box number?
I'll stay with the age of one of my children, number 2, 26.
And we have question J for Juliet. Is government spending on cycling and cycleways a waste of money? By the way, that might be I on your.
It should not be a fiscal priority at this time when New Zealanders are facing a cost of living crisis and significant issues with our health, water and education infrastructure.
Okay. Megan, what box number?
Can I see the ones at the front? So 10. Ladies and gentlemen, please leave the building.
Okay, I think we are back to transmission. The good thing about being in a small rural town, I think the camera might be better to be put onto me, is the fact that we're right next to the Volunteer Fire Brigade siren. And actually, in our earlier production, that we got caught out of this before we went on air, so I went in and put a banner on there. We'll be back here as soon as the fire siren has been done. And I think it's actually quite... yeah, it's literally on top of this building, and it was quite funny how it actually went on in the transmission, and we believe it's going to be one of our blooper reels for our election night special.
Anyway, I was in the middle of doing something, and Megan wondered, and I wondered, but no, I haven't mentioned the question. The question is why? Why for Yankee?
Okay.
In your opinion, over the past 3 years, what is the worst thing that has happened to New Zealand politically?
A bit of a loaded question, I think, but I believe the worst thing that's happened is we had an outright majority in Parliament. If ever there was an example of why first past the post doesn't work anymore for New Zealand, it's when, even with the best of intention, the government of the day rushed through legislation without the checks and balances that our system provides for a reason. And I think that that's possibly the best thing, because we now know that first past the post isn't a great idea, but also I think it was the worst thing. There was some poor implementation of legislation in the last 3 years.
I think that's a very good reminder that you've just mentioned there, you know, because we've been, and I think this will be the first MMP election that we may end up with how it's meant to be done, like it's in Germany, where they typically tend to have at least 3 parties in government. And it's quite interesting whenever you see their elections, they talk about traffic light coalitions and all sorts of things. So I think we might be on the path of that this election. Yeah. Lois.
Number 5 for my 5 children.
And we have question B for Bravo. Perfect question for you, Lois. Do you believe that 16-year-olds have the maturity to vote? And I understand that some of your whānau are here. I wonder what they would say. Anyway, your turn.
These are only 2 of 5. Maturity. The question I would ask is, do they have the comprehension to be able to vote at 16? And I believe they're pushing it with, they can have sex at 16, they can drive, go for driver's license, but I think our political career needs to be seen as a lot more serious. And so short answer, no.
Okay. You use the button card.
And
Button.
by the way, guys, when you have to surrender it under your seat.
Okay.
When you've used it. So you can
Yep.
surrender it now under your seat, just so we know that you've only got one left.
I'd like to butt in, with all due respect. I think that voting is probably, and I know that some people would suggest it's more important, but I think being able to have sex, drive a ton worth of metal down the road at 110 kilometres an hour is actually a big deal. I think that if we have civics education, that 16-year-olds can vote. I know some 16-year-olds that they might not get it, but you know, I know some 70-year-olds and no one's asking them. No one's asking if they comprehend MMP. No one's asking them if they understand the difference between a party vote and an electoral vote. And there has to be a line in the sand, and I think with civics education, we can give 16-year-olds the vote. They're the ones who are going to be affected more over their lifespan than the 70 and 80-year-olds.
So cheeky button question from the host. Should it be mandatory for all 16 and 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds at school to watch this episode of It's in the Ballot?
If they want to. If they want to. If we make it entertaining enough. There's not enough button cards though.
Never mind, if you use your button cards a lot, because there's only 2 of you, we might be able to slip another button card.
Oh,
in.
yes. Yeah.
There are only 2 of you. So, Lois, you've got to use
We
yours.
might not.
Okay, so it is Lois. first.
No, Megan.
Oh, Megan.
Megan, yeah, because Megan used the
I
button.
used the
Oh,
button.
sorry. Yes,
Oh.
It's a bit confusing with
Yeah.
button cards.
11. Just a reminder to my husband that that was the day we were married.
Is that
Not the
is that your list position?
No, that's 25 years. Still doesn't remember. 11.
We have question Z for Zulu. In your opinion, should councils be forced by the Ministry of Health to fluoridate their water supplies?
Again, everything that's printed internationally says it's the easiest way to ensure that those who are least able to make choices have a good start with healthy teeth. You can't address adverse dental conditions if kids are starting their lives with rotten teeth, and fluoridation done well is actually the best solution. So yes, we'd support fluoridation.
We have a button.
Button.
Yes.
I actually went to the Ratepayers Association the other day talking about fluoride. Fluoridation has been proven to be toxic. It's actually a toxin going into our water. And the issue isn't about putting fluoride onto the teeth, it's the sugar. It's the sugar that's giving our children rotten teeth. This here is a byproduct. We have been sold a lie saying that fluoride is healthy for our teeth. It's actually a byproduct, and it's a neurotoxin. It's been proven. It's been proven. So.
Okay. Lois, what box number?
Gee, I got the 27.
We have question V for Victor. How effective do you consider the government's interventions or action on youth offending has been?
Just being honest, hopeless. Shows lack of understanding of what the critical issues are, coming from troubled homes, not going to school and being recruited to gangs. We need to get back to the families, community policing, special designated community squads, soft, hard touch, not soft on crime, but show some understanding.
As someone who's a mother of many children,
Only 5.
only 5, you've taught them all how to drive manuals?
Oh, I don't teach them, that's their father's job.
They know how to drive manuals? Oh, that's good. Oh, well, we don't want to hear those cards being used in ram raids, but yes, no, I think that, I believe from what I've heard from police, and these are different cops around the country, the models that tend to be used in ram raids tend to be cars that are predominantly known to be very heavily automatic transmission. And, you know, and if anyone remembers The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, London Tipton called the gear stick the Prindle. Well, it's very easy to move your Prindle down to D and put the foot down. Whereas, can you picture trying to sit there and do that in a manual with a clutch and trying to line everything all up? I mean, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
18.
We have question N for November. In your opinion, how well is the government managing the adverse medical and social impacts of the COVID vaccinations?
Thanks for the question. I believe it's somewhat loaded. I don't know what management they are doing. I think there's a bit of hiding. The Opportunities Party doesn't have a policy directly on that, but for medical misadventure, ACC should be paying things, and the whole ACC turning down lots of things is a whole other issue. We need to look after people who can't work, and we shouldn't prioritise those who can't work because of injury over those who can't work because of other situations in their life. So the Opportunities Party is really passionate about getting to a UBI eventually. So party vote top.
Thank you. Lois?
12 disciples.
Nice.
We have question AB, Alpha Bravo. What is your stance on the export of live animals?
Ridiculous. Proving to be an issue of animal welfare, and why would we give away the source of our dairy products and meat and beef? This will eventually phase us out of the market. Why will countries need to get dairy off us when we have resourced them with the source of that supply?
Okay, Megan, what box number?
2. Thank you.
We have D for Delta. Will your party review the relationships and sexuality education, known as RSE, in primary schools?
Short answer is no, and I know that's going to be contentious to many in this room. The focus on relationships in schools is effective. The reality is parents are failing in understanding how to communicate this. A child is killed every 5 weeks in New Zealand. Most sexual abuse happens within families, which suggests that kids don't know about body autonomy and don't know how to say no to grown-ups. Clearly, some households are not the place for kids to learn about their bodies. So the Opportunities Party thinks we should trust our teachers and make sure that our children are safe, because our current statistics are disgusting.
We have a button card from Lois.
Absolutely, we're going to repeal it. Yes, we learn about the birds and the bees, but it's not just in our primary school, it's in our intermediates and it's in our high schools. We have 2 copies, one of 160 pages, the second one in our high school is 260 pages that a lot of our parents are not aware of. Teach us about the birds and the bees and what your body parts looks like. I don't know what they're going to do with the transgender community and what body parts they're going to show, but the reality is it's the sexualization of our little ones, and you are grooming them for pedophilia. Let's just put this out there. That's my take on it. I've got 5 children, 3 grandchildren, and another one on the way. And if I don't battle this today, they're going to have to battle it tomorrow. So no, we will repeal this. Absolutely.
What would be an ideal replacement? Because when I hear repeal, I always like to know what's the replacement plan.
Like when we were growing up, we learned about our body parts. That's a given. But the power needs to be given back to the parents. But mum and dad are at the minute too busy having to go out and work to provide the 3 basic things: a roof over their head, kai on the table, and clothes. That the 3 basics that every New Zealander should be able to have so that the kids can go and get educated, not doctrinated, but now mum and dad be made aware what they're teaching our children in school as far as the RSE.
Okay. It's it's Lois.
Did you want a button again?
No, I might say
No,
that.
no.
I might say
No,
that.
it was originally.
No, we
it
get
was.
these too
Yeah,
as well. We get their ones as well.
Oh, we get you.
We'll take
Yeah.
theirs.
Oh,
yeah, Lois's question. That's what I've just been told.
okay. I'm 19.
That's a different Lois.
Oh, sorry.
Lois. Yeah,
Because you butted in. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'll do 19 then.
yeah.
Buttons do get complicated at times.
Especially on 2 candidate shows.
Yes, I've noticed. M for Mike. Rest homes are losing registered nurses to the Te Whara Ora as they are unable to match the pay packages. Do you think that pay packages for registered nurses should be equitable across all sectors of healthcare?
I just want to quickly say, let's take our Māori names off these services, because it's not the services that are getting the slack, it's our Māori names. So let's take those off and put it back to what it was. What letter was that? M.
M.
Yes, the healthcare related to the elderly is becoming more complex from nursing perspective and therefore requires specialised care and treatment. These health professionals are therefore delivering a services comparable to that required in many wards of public hospitals.
And thank you for answering that question while we fixed a potential technical thing that was about to go wrong but managed to be averted. And thanks for doing that without those at home knowing. Okay, Megan, what box number?
3.
We have question E for echo. The Future of Local Government report says a significant fund is also needed to support climate change adaptation activities. How is your party going to respond to this issue?
This is a great question for the Waikato because we have some of the most fertile land in New Zealand, and it's taken some tough years for those in the primary sector. I'm a dairy farmer, we share milk, and I drive an EV. If you were to do a Venn diagram of those two groups, 4 or 5 years ago, it'd be 2 circles. Our climate policy wants to empower farmers to be champions of biodiversity and guardians of the land. Instead of punishing farmers and assuming all farmers are bad, start from the premise that they're doing the best they can and encourage them to do better. Farmers are mostly doing the right thing. The reality is they're just pretty crap at proving it, how we build a business on that premise. But we need to move the average, and farmers will do that. They're completely coachable. You just need to give them the right signals. Party vote top so we can take some sensible ideas through to the government.
Okay. Lois, what box number?
7, perfection.
Yes, my estimate.
And we have X for X-ray. Sorry, Lois, we have another Maori name. Okay. What is your view on the role of rail projects, including initiatives like Te Huia, in improving public transport and connectivity in New Zealand?
Very admirable and very needed, but right now the priority has to be the cost of living. And spending money on large project foes nothing more than fills contractors and developers' pockets. We need to be settled and sorted before we address these, but definitely better quality public transport is needed.
Sounds like you want to review PTOM, the contracting model for public transport. That's what I gathered from that answer, which many people probably might not know, but all regional councils, when it comes to putting their tenders out, they have to use the PTOM model, which is public transport operating model. And the rules around it is that they cannot give more than 60% share to one provider. And so every time, say, Te Huia is a train service that goes out, it has to go through a PTOM contract. And this legislation came in the early 2010s, and a good example of when the execution went horribly wrong was actually Wellington's bus network. Most parts of the country haven't actually done so bad under their PTOM contracts, but Wellington's Greater Wellington Regional Council did do something quite wrong, and there are reviews on it. But it's good to see that, you know, looking to stop the price gouging from private contractors, considering, you know, 50% of most of those PTOM contractors are subsidised with a combination of Waka Kotahi and the regional council ratepayers.
As you can see, audience, Sam's special interest is transportation.
Yes, I very much like playing the game Transport Tycoon. It's an old-fashioned one, but it's a goodie. Okay, Megan.
Go 28.
And we have question U, which is for uniform. What is your party's policy on gun control, and do you support the gun register that was established?
Yes, we support gun control, but we realise the register doesn't capture illegal guns. We put more police into communities so they get to know communities and make a difference in real people's lives. The rise of gangs is a rise in the folks who aren't connected to their communities. When you've got families having to move around because their rent's becoming more and more unaffordable and households are less stable, that makes them easy fodder for those who give them something. And it might be after school care or in our electorate lunches that the gangs are providing to give some legitimacy to their front. We believe that sorting out the connectedness and making people feel part of the community will remove some of that power that the gangs currently have.
Okay, want to do a quick fire?
Yeah.
Do either of you hold a gun license?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We've got an air rifle, a slug gun.
It's like, yeah. No, I was just wondering on that one because I do believe from what I heard from Amanda Vickers, she got a gun license because her husband got a gun license. And she said she was very amazed by the training you get for it. You know, they teach you about responsibility. And it's like, I'd see it in the same boat as having a driver's license.
Yeah, the difference is that the gun license is also reviewed. So I live rurally, so I've done interviews with people who've applied to renew gun licenses. That doesn't capture the people who've got illegal guns. They don't go through that training, right?
No.
They go through some training, but it's possibly not the training we'd like them to go through. So we've got to sort out our communities first. We've got to empower people to feel connected, and that helps with their health outcomes. It helps with social outcomes. We can't do it by screwing down the people with less choices than you or I have.
Yeah. Okay. Lois, what box number?
Number 4.
We have question F for Foxtrot. Current information from overseas indicates that vaping is not a healthier alternative to smoking. Children of primary school age are becoming addicted. What is your party's plan to address this health concern?
Right out there, we support a smoke-free New Zealand. Any kind of smoke-related products are a potential gateway to more harmful substances. Therefore, we are in favour an increase of fines and penalties for those that sell to minors, tighter restrictions on the location of stores, and we support the recent move to delete products that are marketed to minors.
We have a button with you, Megan. Thank you.
This is something the Opportunities Party's really passionate about, and I encourage everyone in the audience and those who are watching at home, both of you, that you go and find our petition to government, because we believe in stronger anti-vaping laws. It's addictive, it's harmful, and it's becoming increasingly popular. We recognise that prohibition doesn't work, and if you do prohibit it, it puts power into the hands of gangs via black markets. We would restrict the sale of vapes to pharmacies, require plain packaging for vapes, require vape packets to be hidden from the public, limit the flavours that are available so they're not targeted to young people, and increase funding for vaping cessation programs. It's one of those things that's kind of crept into our society because we thought it was the lesser of two evils, and we've been conned, absolutely conned, and it is the lifeblood of some small businesses, and that's a tragedy in itself. But we need to look forward to the future where we don't have kids and adults relying on it.
Okay, Megan, what box number?
Oh, yeah, it's confusing with two.
I know.
I've only got a small brain.
Don't worry, it happens with
20.
And yes, it did happen with 6, where I accidentally missed one candidate because I hit refresh on my list on the computer.
We have letter L, L for Lima. Do you think that transgender females should be able to compete in women's sports?
I know my colleague here is desperate to butt in. I think that this is, I think that this is a bit of a firecracker thing, and it was one of the things I was concerned about when I first stood for top. Not because I don't have an answer, but it's pretty close to home because I've got friends with transgender kids. This isn't a question about equality in sports. This is a thinly veiled attempt to, of the person to qualify who gets to call themselves women. There are women in sports today with testosterone levels that are higher than their fellow athletes, levels higher than some male athletes. Doesn't make them less of a woman, no. The reality is that I believe that this is the similar issue that was facing same-sex couples in the 70s, 80s, where there was fear and intimidation and a complete lack of understanding. Trans women are women. If they are competing in horse riding, archery and darts, there's not a problem because there's no gender specifics. I think it's up to the sports to decide their criteria.
Cool. We have a button here.
What is a woman? Whare tangata. Whare tangata. We hold that. We hold that as women. I get it. I get it. We still love on them. But it's not an emotional thing. We can't look at it from an emotional point of view. What is a woman? Whare tangata. And only whare tangata holds that right. Whether you're Māori, whether you're Te Ao Pākehā, whatever it is, whare tangata. That's the only thing that keeps us. We hold the whakapapa line. Without whare tangata, you don't have whakapapa. And we cannot emotionalise transgendered. We need to put in place mental health organisations that can help them see that whare tangata, what is woman. Sorry, womb. We are carriers of life.
Thank you for that translation.
Okay, Lois, you get to
Can I
go
just
this
ask a
time.
question? Can I just ask a quick question?
go ahead, yeah.
Have both candidates used their button cards?
We've used ours, but we haven't used theirs yet.
Well, I'm just going to make a suggestion. I'm going to make a suggestion to the host, as these two women have been very, very economical in their answers.
Yes.
We're quite well through, so can we give them another button card
Yeah, I
each?
think so.
Lovely.
I think so.
Thank you. So could you just pick up one of your cards underneath, and then that's the one card that you can use. Great. You didn't put your other one underneath.
Okay, so we've got 8 boxes. Let's see if we can get 8 quality answers out of the next 8 minutes.
Teen mum, I was 16 when I got
16.
pregnant.
You didn't.
The age you can get a driver's license at.
I got pregnant before my license. Just saying.
Okay, we have question A alpha. What will happen to the winter energy payment if your party is elected to govern?
Winter energy payment. Vision New Zealand has several initiatives for the elderly, and retaining the winter energy payment would be one of those initiatives.
Short, sharp and sweet.
Yep. We're aiming for 8 minutes, remember?
Okay, Megan.
6.
The age you must be enrolled in a school at.
We have question A for alpha. Over the past few years, New Zealand has suffered from many forms of division. How would your party reconnect people and heal the divide so we are a united country? Once again, the question goes to Megan, but we have a button already from Lois.
Okay. The Opportunities Party is committed to ensuring our democratic process is fair, transparent, and accessible to all. We're concerned by the influence of money in our political system, the centralisation of power, and the complete lack of accountability. We support the findings of the Independent Electoral Review released in June this year, lowering the MMP threshold to 3.5, introduce caps on political donations, and strengthening the MMP system through introducing civics in school with a view to lowering the voting age. We support a 4-year parliamentary term, and we want to introduce more innovative democratic techniques for consulting with the public. Fundamentally, the rhetoric from leadership seems to get picked up by media and about what we think is society. There are differences within our local communities, but I don't think we're divided beyond belief. I think that we have more in common than we have different, and the division comes from the messaging. Mainstream media like the fact that they can pitch one against the other. We'd call out the rhetoric. Party vote top.
Lois, your button.
Division. To heal the divide that currently lurks in the underbelly of New Zealand, we need the instrument that caused the rift to be dealt with. Therefore, we need to end the mandates completely and never allow a government response to a national crisis cause such division and divide again. To heal the divides created, we need it to acknowledge the consequences of government-directed mandating on individuals, our health system, education, business, and ultimately our economy. A united country starts at the very highest level of decision making. Therefore, the mandates must go. Human rights must be entrenched as supreme law. A trusting, responsible, and cooperative response to further crisis should be the goal and be in step with individual human rights. We will do all we can to advance patriotism towards this amazing country, its people, God-given resources of ours. Patriotism is not racism. We will do this by valuing our country as our home, no matter what ethnicity we are. There is a duty to protect and preserve who we are as Kiwis so that our children and grandchildren can live in a safe, prosperous, and peaceful New Zealand, secure in their identity as Kiwis.
Thank you for that. Is it,
I think it's
yeah, Lois.
Lois.
No,
Lois.
Yeah, your box.
Yes, your box.
Oh, to be 23 again.
Yes, that was a very interesting time in my life.
We have question R for Romeo. What is your party's policy to get families out of emergency accommodation and into long-term stable housing?
It's probably the main one that gets pushed around a lot, increasing housing supply. Did you know that there are 90,000 empty homes in Aotearoa?
190.
190. And there's 100,000 homeless people.
They could end
Empty
homelessness
homes.
overnight.
And there's 100,000 homeless people. It doesn't take much logic to see, put them in them. Anywho, we will prioritise the development of affordable and friendly family housing options by collaborating with local councils, builders, and housing providers. Affordable home ownership. We are committed to supporting first-time home buyers and families by implementing initiatives such as shared equity schemes, low-interest loans, and assistance programs. Interest-free packages for first home buyers, a general wealth package including initiatives to facilitate home ownership. Vision New Zealand sees that currently the system for emergency housing favours those that have more issues, and these families are moved higher up on the list. Mental health issues, etc. Therefore, there needs to be two parallel lists so that couples that are both earning but need housing have equal access to a house.
We have a button with Megan.
This should be our biggest national embarrassment. The last census, there were 190,000 empty homes in New Zealand, 40,000 of them in Auckland. I love my kids, but spending even a month with them in a motel unit would be real tough. We need to incentivise the effective use of land. The land value tax does this. It has no exceptions, so it can't be used in the loophole manner that most of our other tax systems are set up to be. You can land bank, but you'll pay for the privilege, so you'll develop it quicker. Giving central resources, buying power, underwritten loans, etc., to community housing providers will expedite the supply of houses. There are houses being built in Cambridge at the moment. They've been ordered by iwi in the Gisborne area because the governments were unable to make decisions. We need to put the money and the resources with accountability back to the communities who can make those great decisions.
Okay, Megan, what's next? What's number?
15.
The old driver's license age.
Yeah.
We have question G for golf. Do you think New Zealand has coped well with the COVID-19 pandemic? And what lessons have we learned?
Oh, this is just such a big thing. I was talking earlier to a friend about the fact that we became divided with COVID because you couldn't say, oh, that's good, but I think that's bad. You had to choose one or the other. The results say that, yes, we were successful. We lead the world in numbers in terms of death rates. Our first response as an island nation was great. But I come from a food industry background. So when I first joined the food industry, we had a foot and mouth manual that was something that is now called the exotic disease manual. We had a plan for when something bad happened because we knew that we had a possibility as an island nation of compromising our biosecurity. I'm concerned that we didn't use the 8 months where we didn't have COVID in the community to get something like that set up. I think we haven't looked enough at what the lessons that we could learn because some of the issues that came up weren't medical, they were social, emotional and psychological. So I do know that communities and families have been divided since the 2021 lockdown, and I think we need a commitment to our future generations and the next response to make sure that we've learnt world's best practices from the mistakes we made.
Okay, Lois, what box number?
24.
And we have question P for Papa. How is your party going to stop the increasing decline in children's dental health?
Sugar tax. Free dental care up to the age of 16, but parents don't take advantage of it. Do parents even know? We need to remind them of this and encourage them to utilise it.
Did we get another button?
Oh, go on.
Go on. One of our core policies in the Opportunities Party is the teal card, which is free healthcare for those under 30. How many children did you have by the time you're 30? 3 or 4? 3. So if you had free dental healthcare, you would have been going to the dentist regularly and you take your kids with you. If we actually empower our people, they will do the right thing. But when you have to choose between seeing a GP or the dentist or the optometrist for you or your kids, you choose the food on the table, and that food might not be the right food for some of those other outcomes. But we believe that actually free GP visits, free optometry, free dentistry, mental health visits for those under 30 is critical for the benefit of everyone going forward. We'll reap dividends for years.
Okay, what box number, Megan?
Oh, 22.
Yeah, sorry.
22.
You're allowed a button if you want. Free one. And we have number S, Sierra. Even though S for Sierra, even though our state highways are managed by New Zealand Transport Agency, should district councils and residents have the final say on the speed limits that they have imposed?
Was it me? Oh, sorry, man. Oh,
was you.
state highway should be Wakakotahi. If we want to say in the speed, we might have to pay for it. And the Waikato is blessed with some 110k roads that are quite lovely. And then you've got the Ngarawahia to Taupiri section, which looks like one of our farm races. I'm more interested in the state of the roads in our electorate and making sure that people can drive safely on them. We should have more accountability to those who build the roads with incentives over the long term rather than, and I know there's a guy over here who's gagging to have a say in transport, but the reality is that we see strips of road done by the same contractor and there is no accountability, and you can actually see the mark where good roadworks have happened and poor quality roadworks have happened. So I defer to you, Madam Chair.
What about, was it speed limits?
No, just funding of roading and the accountability that people have or don't have.
Certainly there's not enough accountability in it, I can tell you that. And it's like one of the biggest issues from I have a friend who's contractor for Taurua District Council, and he says the potholes have exploded in this particular year, and a lot of it is to do with soft soil underneath. So typically we had a lot of dry years. Now we've got a lot of wet years, which means a lot of roads possibly need to be fully rebedded underneath, and that's going to cost a lot of money, and ratepayers just don't have the dosh for it.
Well, Coromandel and Raglan aren't in our electorate, but you know the impacts of those roading projects were significant on people who work in those areas and play in those areas. So.
Yeah.
Out the gate, number 8.
We have, I think this might be wrong, I'm not sure, we're not sure, are we, Megan? Question Q. Q for Quebec. Good. Thank you. So this is slightly incorrect, possibly on your sheets. So the real question is, should we ban single-use plastics? So you may not be prepared for this, Lois, but you can have a go.
Short answer, no. How far do you want to go with plastics? We've got it in our phones, got it in our cars, a lot of what we use in our water now. It's all in our water. Look at all those masks that they're trying to make us wear during COVID. All in the water, all in our waterways. Yeah, short answer, no.
So
And number 14.
We have question
okay.
H, and that is H for hotel. Property investors often outbid first home buyers at house auctions.
Oh, this is our bread and butter.
How would you encourage those investors to switch to more productive investments?
Couple of areas. We'd introduce a land value tax, which means that the investors don't buy a prime piece of property with a 3-bedroom house on 700 square metres and sit on it for 5 years so that they can double their money. Our view is that we need to tax land that's not used well. Taxing wealth will make sure that the wealth goes offshore, but you can't avoid paying tax on land. You can't take it anywhere. All investment properties under the top proposal would have to have 100% finance, so that if you bought a house in 2000, that is likely the only house that you actually put cash into, because in 2005 you leveraged it, and in 2010 you leveraged again, 2015, etc. We need to make housing more affordable. Housing has gone up exponentially faster under all the governments in the last 20 years, much faster than wages have gone up.
Thank you, candidates, for cleaning us out of questions. I think that, so we've had 28 quality answers, well, and many buttons. 40?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe
That
not.
is a...
Oh, did you count them, Megan? Oh, you estimated. Good estimate too. You know, 3 button
Okay.
cards. Yeah, 3 times whatever. Yeah.
We're going to take a break now, and for those at home, you can watch some of our highlights from a previous show, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes' time for hard-hitting questions. Welcome back to It's in the Ballot. Now it's time for hard-hitting questions. And so we're for hard-hitting questions. These are the questions that are very vital within the community that we want all candidates to answer. And you cannot use your button card because everyone's going to be answering. You cannot use your defer card, well, because you're still answering it. So let's kick off for hard-hitting question number 1. Central government increasingly communicates with citizens via email and text message. Therefore, for non-computer literates, visit the library for assistance. Changes to central government practices and legislation impacts our local communities, which councils are expected to deliver without funding. Do you believe that central government should form partnerships with councils to deliver central government services? If so, how should this be funded? Let's kick off with Megan.
We believe that locals know what's needed best. I think the over-reliance on technology was shown to fail when we had major outages in both power and cell reception in the February storms. Personally, I'd like to see schools become more of a hub for situations like that, because the reality is that we have more schools than we have libraries, and there's an awesome library north of Hamilton in an affluent area, and it's amazing, but I'm picking that 95% of the people in that area also have email, cell phones and texts, whereas in some of our rural communities our internet connections are either expensive or rubbish. Social housing and rent-to-own schemes are working really well in Tainui with Hamilton, and Molen Hospital are examples of where the community knows best. So give the money to the community.
Lois.
With the explosion of the population of New Zealand, that brings with it pressure on our infrastructure. Councils don't make decisions about immigration, but they are left grappling with the urban shift and the consequences of the urban shift because of immigration. Therefore, there needs to be a partnership model between central government and local councils to resource the upgrade and supply of new infrastructure. But this shouldn't mean that local councils lose complete ownership of those assets.
Okay, let's kick off for hard-hitting question number 2. Very good one. The farming sector is being negatively impacted by over-regulation. What will your party do for the farming sector to assist them to delivering positive environmental outcomes without adding more regulation? Lois, would you like to kick this one off, please?
Just my
Sorry, I didn't
that's
mean
okay.
to scare you.
I was just daydreaming. But my input here, personally, we went to a groundswell meeting. Man, they're so lovely. And I walked in and they said, "Gee, dear, what farm do you own?" I looked up and said, "Do these hands look like they're farming hands?" And he cracked up laughing. But what will our party do for the farming sector is to assist them to deliver positive environmental outcomes without adding to more regulation. Support policies that support farmers. Repeal the Zero Carbon Act. Repeal the farm emissions tax. Reduce red tape restrictions. I'm pretty sure that our farmers know that if they don't look after the whenua, they're not going to reap a harvest. And so they understand and they know how to look after the whenua, and they also know that if we don't, we're not going to have an inheritance for our children.
Megan?
Look, this is obviously very close to home. As somebody who lives, works and breathes in the rural sector, the Opportunities Party's the only one being really honest about tax. The tax which gives every ag sector worker more cash in hand. And that's significant because actually we pay our staff really well, but they don't get to keep as much as they should. The carrot that we propose, giving credits to farmers to add biodiversity or retire sensitive lands, will be promoted by top. Individual communities do stuff already. In our electorate, there's lots of clearing up of peat lakes, funding local communities to make long-term sustainability decisions. The reality is that our local and regional council don't think as long-term as our farmers. The issue is how and where mandates come from. The reality is no farmer goes farming for the paperwork. Farmers are doing stuff, crap at recording it, they're doing things, and we need to incentivise them to do better rather than punishing them on the assumption that they're doing something bad.
Now, before we get off to the Members' Bill question, I want to ask, could central government fund fibre to the door for internet connectivity for rural farms using the same way electricity is delivered on the power poles? Is that something that should be put on the table?
I don't know if it's effective, but we had a very expensive solution to get satellite to our farm because we're not in the 5G network. We weren't eligible for anything else, and we've just gone to Starlink. Man, blazing literally 10 times faster for the same cost. It's expensive, but
it actually delivers the goods.
It actually delivers the goods, and I think that we shouldn't reinvent the wheel. That's not our job. Tell farmers the outcome you want. They've got the solutions. It's the same with looking after the land. Tell them, we need you to tidy this up. This is doing damage to the land. Farmers didn't know that, the Ballot farms that were allocated around Toko, the reality is they were told by the government put superphosphate on.
Yeah.
You can't have this farm unless you follow our protocols, and our protocols say do this. When they knew that there was an issue, they changed their behaviours, and that's what makes me really angry about victimising farmers, because if you give them the right information, they will do the right things. So yeah, don't worry about us and cell phone, we've got Starlink.
Yeah. Okay, off to my favourite part of the show. If elected, what would be the first Members' Bill that you'll put in the biscuit tin? Now, in Parliament, all elected members, except for the executive, are allowed to put in Members' Bills, and they're debated and the bills go through the House on the Members' Order paper, which is every second sitting Wednesday in the sitting calendar. And just to make things a bit more confusing, Parliament typically tends to sit for 3 out of 4 weeks a month, and they do, and to be more parent friendly, they tend to coincide a 2-week recess period in school holidays, so that the MPs who are parents can actually spend time with their children. So there is some little different niggly little bits that kind of, you think, hey, what? But that is one of the things that do happen in Parliament. So, Megan, what will be your first Members' Bill in the biscuit tin if elected as the MP for Waikato?
Well, I know that's just like 1,000,000 to 1 odds, so I haven't really given it much thought. But what I'd really like to see is a change in our legislation that makes videoing a crime and not submitting that as evidence to address the crime, a crime in itself. There's evidence anecdotally that currently, instead of going in and ram raiding somewhere to grab some food or some cash or some booze, they're doing it for the likes on social media, and that's a perverse judgment. And if people who film things like fights and crime. I think there should be some mechanism there. Haven't thought it through, and we've got some really smart people who'll probably tell me that's a dumb idea, but I'd defer to the smart people in our party, the doctors, the Crown prosecutors.
Lois, what will be your first member's bill in the biscuit tin?
To make compulsory our Man Up program, which is to do with crime, our law and crime order policy, to push that right through our nation. It's been tried and tested for the last 33 years without government funding or voluntary. These are our gangs, these are our hard to get to people that people have stopped looking at them as people. They're not just criminals, these are hurt people. And so for me, it would be to make mandatory our Man Up program, because it works, it's been proven. If it had been in already, we wouldn't see half the crime that we're seeing now. So yeah, Man Up.
Thank you. And that mentions a very good point. The amount of people who got outraged when they were talking about gang members enrolling to vote, even that it's a fundamental right of New Zealand that as long as you've not been sentenced to prison for 3 or more years, or it's overseas as more than 3 years, you have that right to vote. And I remember people say, "Oh, but gang members don't have the right to vote." Well, it doesn't state that under the law. I mean, we did have at one point where women didn't have the right to vote. You know, there was another point in time which disenfranchised Māori, which was when they couldn't have right to vote because you had to own land. You know, thank goodness they got rid of that in the 1870s, I think it was. But, you know, it's amazing what sort of things that, you know, what people do. And yes, it's how to, you know, you're right about they don't treat them as human beings. Some people sit there and treat beneficiaries as if they're, what do you call it, the pet dog. You know, I mean, you know, and you know, I wish some of them would actually realise, you know, what happens when you have to sit there and deal with it. So, I want to ask, where in the Waikato Electorate is the best place to get a cup of coffee? And the good news is, it's a very vast area. Because, I mean, you know, I'm a barista by trade, not a TV presenter. Yeah. And I make more money selling coffee than I do presenting TV. So where's the best place for...
I'm not a huge coffee drinker, but Fat Patties is really good in Narva. If you want a really good burger, that's probably the best in the region. But, you know, I'm sure there are areas... Morrinsville's got a couple of coffee shops, but when you're not a real coffee aficionado, it's hard to call it.
So as it say, drive to Hamilton to get a cup of coffee. And any other cheeky questions from the crew that they might want to add? No, they've all been quiet. Gee, I thought they would have had good questions. Any light-hearted questions from the audience?
Absolutely.
Into vaccine injuries?
Absolutely, yeah. Yes. Yes.
So the question for those at home would be asking is to have a full, unrestricted, unredacted inquiry into COVID, into vaccine injuries regarding the COVID vaccine. Is that the best way to describe it? Yes.
I think there's already calls for a Royal Commission on a COVID response, and that's been kind of shut down. As I said before, there are lessons to be learned from everything. We did some things right. We could improve on other things, and hiding doesn't help anything. I think we need to be really frank with people about, because this is likely to happen again. The reality is we have people travelling internationally across our borders all the time. We're lucky that we're an island nation, so we have some physical advantages that we can take advantage of, but we need to know what we did well and what we didn't do well. And I think the perceived or real secrecy that's grown up around this has thwarted honest communication, and we need to blow the curtains open, and so we know. So we the Opportunities Party believe that the vaccine saved lives, but we think that it's important that we have a full inquiry into all aspects of how we responded.
And you want to add anything, Lois?
I think when you're in a position of leadership and you're putting out there that something is safe and effective, you're actually telling your nation it's safe and effective. And when the data has come out that it is not, and then you turn around and tell your nation that it was never mandated, in fact, it was actually your choice, you have to question. And it's for our government and those, all of them, because there was no opposition, they have to stand to account to the nation. Regardless of whether you believed or not, there has to be an accountability, because everything flows from the top down. And now we're dealing with an aftermath of people who are hurt, who are broken, and all of this other negative stuff that's come really not from a virus, but from decisions of our government in whom we supposedly trusted. So accountability, absolutely.
Thank you for that. Okay, closing statements. Who would like to go first?
I'd like to thank those who facilitated that. I know there weren't a lot of other candidates here, but it's kind of a crazy time. I appreciate the people who came out from various places on a Sunday night to come and support the process, and it's really important that we commit to a democratic process that ensures that everyone can be heard. And our current system relies too much on a duopoly: blue, light blue, red, light red. And we need a better system to get better outcomes. And it's all about the vision forward. It's about for our children, and it's about for the New Zealand that we know we can be. We can be world leaders in farming. We can be world leaders in IT. We can be world leaders in so many areas, but we need to facilitate representation and diversity. So, up the top.
And Lois?
Behold how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. That's what we're aiming for here in Aotearoa. Party vote Freedoms New Zealand, candidate vote Lois Dornan. Let that ring in your Lois Dornan. But party vote, I'm after your party vote, because together we're better. And we can bring unity back to Aotearoa, how God intended it in the first place. Kia ora.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to the Cambridge Town Hall tonight to appear on It's in the Ballot. I've had a very fun night being alongside both of you here as the host of the show. And thank you so much for doing it. Now, let's get off to some interesting part. Now, we have a QR code that has appeared on the screen in the corner. So this is the last full It's in the Ballot internal, as in we booked it, venue for the 2023 election. Now, we do have some news. We have 5 electorate shows. Now, we've been tidying up the details. So these have been shows that have been working on, but we've tied up details so we have the exact times for the production of it, which will be uploaded onto our website tomorrow for 5 Auckland shows that we have been asked to do by a third party who is interested in democracy. And the deal was they pay for the venue and we bring our expertise, our gear, and our questions. And we've happily accepted it. So on, it'll be Wednesday, the 5th of October, we'll be doing the Tamaki Makaurau Electorate. Fingers crossed, we have a full house, since we've not had the best luck with Māori electorate so far. Then on October the 6th, which is a Thursday, we've got the Manariwa electorate. On, don't worry about it, Stacey. We can put it on, we'll put it on the Facebook page later on. That's Stacey, who has just told me a few things there. Doing that. On October the 7th, Saturday, we will have Auckland Central electorate. On Sunday, the 8th of October, we'll have the Mangakiki electorate. And on Monday, the 9th of October, we will have the Pakaranga electorate. So if you want to tune in and watch those shows or be an audience member of those shows, feel free to join in. I'll have all those details uploaded on the website by midday tomorrow, considering I'm not just just the presenter in front of the desk, I also am the website admin. I see, we seem to have a lot of hats here. And with the QR code on the screen, we're going to be having an election night show. Now, we're going to start the show from 6 p.m. at night. The first hour, we'll be talking about the more behind the scenes, the non-political stuff, because voting's still open until 7 p.m. of our election campaign, the different things there, the fun parts that have gone with this trip. It's been a very interesting one. I mean, today we went to the Hamilton Gardens, and it was a very interesting experience, and it puts it on par with Wellington's Botanical Gardens. So we'll be having our election night show, and then from 7 p.m, we'll start bringing in the results. We'll start interviewing, some of our favourite candidates who appeared throughout the campaign. Let's see what's happening around the country while doing it, and bring in what's happening over there. So from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m, we can bring you an election night show and have an election night show difference. You can sit there and watch Channel 1, Channel 3, and just be bored as hell, or you can have a fun party of a time seeing the back roots of the candidates you won't ever see on mainstream media or on the normal network TV until they do something outrageously wrong. We want to see candidates who actually do the right thing and get on there. So we can, have fun there, and we'll be having a party at the Newtown Community Centre. Now, I've got to ring up Erin tomorrow to confirm the booking, but she did ring me up on Friday asking me to put my act together and get into it. So we can see who's standing, what they're standing for, and all that sort of thing, and have, mention their highlights, lowlights, and the fun parts that have happened within an election. And I'd like to say thank Alex, who has alternated with many of the shows we've presented. It's been a very good experience travelling around the country. I know your last one was earlier today. Well, not for the election night show. We definitely will keep that going. But we've had a very, fun time out there. And yes, I'll be effectively presenting the next 5 It's in the Ballot shows, which we're going to be very interesting, because I've got to somehow try to avoid and dodge COVID while I'm out on my trip in Auckland. And my accommodation is a bit questionable at the moment. So for those audience members here, thank you for coming tonight. Those who are watching at home, thank you for watching. And let's look forward to seeing you for our election night special and our next 5 It's in the Ballot shows over the next 2 weeks. Have a good evening.
Well, it's been great traveling around the country, and thanks to Sam and Jill and Nick for really putting it together, and of course Stacey back in the studio. If you're in Auckland, hold off early voting until you see It's in the Ballot. Everyone else, polls open tomorrow. Have fun. See you around.
Yes, and that's a reminder for early voting that starts tomorrow. And actually, ironically, we just did a show that is going to be a polling booth tomorrow. The weird part is, and it's in the ballot shows get done, then 2 days later it's a polling booth, which was the All Saints Community Church in Hamilton. So yeah. Now let's call it a good night.